Welcome to the Corner Cafe.
About the things.
And welcome to the Corner Cafe. Today I have Tim Jones, the founder of Longer Tables, with me. Welcome to the Corner Cafe.
Hey, Rachel. Thank you. So happy to be with you.
Happy to have you. I came into connection with you because of Urban Sky.
Yes.
So I'm a part of Urban Sky. And hey, listeners, if you want to give to the program, I will have a link on our website, cornercaferadio.com. But I just want to say thank you to Urban Sky for introducing me to you, Tim. You're doing a lot of really cool things. And for our listeners who aren't familiar with Longer Tables, just explain what you do and how it got started.
Absolutely. Well, Longer Tables, we are addressing the social connection and social isolation that we are seeing throughout our society. The Surgeon General in 2023 came out with the epidemic of isolation and loneliness, that this being lonely, being isolated, isolation is probably more accurate, that you have a sense that you are disconnected from other people and you do not have meaningful social connections and relationships. You're not feeling seen, you're not feeling loved, you're disconnected socially. And the physical health ramifications of this are real, like increased levels of dementia, premature death even, right up there with obesity, smoking, all of this. So isolation is not only a physical health threat, we also obviously know this is an emotional threat. I really believe that isolation is the fundamental ill that leads to so much of the brokenness and the division and the vitriol that we are seeing in our world. If you notice, people who feel loved and connected and cared for are now, turning over trash cans. They
Right.
often feel they have no need for that. They're whole, healthy people. So we started. Well, really, I just like eating tacos. Let's just be honest. Fried chicken, you barbecue, name it. So, but I grew up here in Denver. I moved back about 11 years ago. I was living in LA for 13 years and absolutely loved it out in La La Land. And
But
moved,
very isolated in California, we'll say. More so than Colorado,
Yeah.
wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough city.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
what my
tough
friends say who've lived there. It's just like hard to connect.
It is a tough city, but I found a great community out there.
Oh, good.
And I am still extremely close to all of my
That is
friends out there.
wonderful.
Was part of a faith community out there, suffering for Jesus in Malibu for 8 years. But anyway,
It's a
that's
tough
another
life,
story.
tough life.
That was tough. Got scars from that. But so I moved back and I meet Carrie, who we know, a very close, cherished friend of ours. And she said, "Hey, do you want to have dinner with people you would never have dinner with?" And I'm a high extrovert. I said, "Heck yeah, let's go." She's like, "Great, bring a side dish and a bottle of wine and show up at this place." It was September, I think, about 10 years ago. And I show up and there's an 80-foot table with white linens, greens, candles, under this oak tree on this huge lawn. I was shocked. It was huge. And I start walking down the table and there's people's names in every place setting. And I see my name, and you feel something when you're not expecting to see your name, and there it is, that someone has set a place for you. And then 80 people show up, and this is people from all walks of life, young, old, black, white. You could tell we were all very different. And Carrie welcomed us and said, "Hey, there's 2 rules tonight. Number 1, there's no talk about work, no job titles." Everyone panics for like half a second. And number 2, we just want to experience the real you. So this is not a table of performance, of impressing anyone. If you're having a bad day, bad week, you are welcome to be in that place. So we just want to experience you. And because we're not talking about work, we have questions down the table. And these were questions around childhood, around hopes and dreams, these beautiful, really beautiful questions that were more about us as human beings than anything else. And people started eating and sharing stories from their childhood, and I was blown away. I couldn't believe the vulnerability, the risks that people were taking and sharing some hard things from their childhoods, from their stories. And then you start realizing as this happens, and then I shared some of my stories that, oh my gosh, we are so much more alike than the differences. And the differences are beautiful too, but we have so much, and it doesn't matter what neighborhood you grew up in or what the color of your skin is. At the end of the day, we are human. I met Pat and Sarah that night, who have since become like family.
I was just going to ask you that.
Oh my gosh.
If people,
Yes.
leave and have friendships and long-term friendships. Yeah.
Absolutely. Pat and Sarah have walked with me through 10 years of life, and I met them that night.
Wow.
So I walked away and I said, I don't know what this is, but I got to be a part of this. And I joined Carrie, and we started setting tables throughout Denver. And after the pandemic, we didn't have any tables for 2 years during the pandemic. We came back. We set a table for about 75 people. Half the people were masked. Half the people were not. And no one moved out of their seat for 2 hours. They were starved of that social connection, of just being seen 3 feet away from someone, of holding space for someone else across the table, and especially sharing stories of moving through a pandemic. And I heard a voice, just sitting back watching that. I heard a voice, probably God's voice, simply said, "It's time to double down." And that was it. That's when we formed a nonprofit. That's when we started setting more tables. That's when we started this journey to setting a mile-long table. And now this thing has evolved and is growing into setting tables inside companies, at conferences across the nation. We're also starting to do leadership development, form leaders who we can't be everywhere. So what would it look like to form leaders who set both literal and figurative tables?
Yeah. In going into the leadership training, if you will, what are some of the things that you look for in these leaders, and how is that training? What kind of curriculum do you put in place for that?
Yeah. So I've surveyed probably 500 leaders, from civic leaders to executive leaders to corporate, neighborhood leaders, both positional, and informal leaders. And I asked them this question: Is it true that we only rise to the level of our leaders as human beings? 100% of leaders say yes. There are some exceptions. You can lead up. Some people can lead up and around, not great leaders, but that's rare, and it doesn't happen a lot. We rise to the level of our leaders. So if our leaders are operating as many do, out of fear, out of a false identity, out of self-protection, self-promotion, out of ego, out of control, out of dysfunction, out of a lot of the places that we see leaders, most of us have a combination of really great leaders in our lives and not so great leaders. And so what if our leaders started showing up and figuratively started setting tables for people? Not only literal. So in the workplace, what if you had managers and C-suite show up and their number one priority was, how can I set a place for my people to flourish, and to invite all of them, not just, I quote Henry Ford. Henry Ford is an amazing man, but he did have this quote. He said, "It's a shame that a body has to be attached to the two hands." Right? It was all about productivity.
Yeah.
How much can we produce? How much can this human being produce?
And that's what we've become.
And that is, it drives the bottom line. But there's another bottom line, Rachel, and I call it the deathbed bottom line. Because when you're on your deathbed as a leader, no one's going to care how much money you made your shareholders. Right. Nobody cares. And especially you don't care.
Right.
What you will care about is, how did I help others flourish?
Right.
How did I love people? How did I help them create full and connected lives? So that's the deathbed bottom line. And so we're coming alongside leaders who, in two different ways, we have learned about 8 things from setting tables over the last 10 years. And we discovered, oh my gosh, these are leadership paradigms. Things like invitation, this principle of inviting people to things, rarely happens in our world. So we have things like invitation, and we've created these 8 competencies that are basically leadership paradigms. So we are going to teach leaders these competencies. The other part of what we're going to do is do identity work, because everything flows externally flows from internally of who we believe we are.
Mm-hmm.
And most of us have pain.
Yeah.
News alert. We have pain and brokenness that has just kind of layered up over the years. And so we put on masks, we coping, we do weird things so we're not vulnerable, so we don't get hurt again.
Right.
And what that does is it disconnects us and separates us from people. As the patron saint Brene Brown, if you're a fan of Brene, says, there is no connection without vulnerability.
Right.
There is no real connection without authenticity, without us just being who we really are.
Right.
So that's for starters. Like, let's take off those masks. Let's start telling the truth about who we think we are. Let's be honest with our pain. Let's be honest with our fears.
Right.
Let's just put that out on the table, because what happens is then everyone in the room says, me too, me too, me too.
Right.
We're all dealing with those fears. So let's just get that out on the table. And then we ask this question, and that is, if God told you who you were, what would God say? Holy mackerel.
Right.
Instead of showing up in pain and just like trying to get through life, of like, God, who do you say I am? How did you uniquely wire me as Tim Jones? And the gift that each of us are in our own uniqueness and wiring, because I think we all have this special wiring, and God has created us in that way and has wired us to show up in the world, and he needs us to show up in the world that way. So we're going to do that identity work with leaders so they can start doing that internal work of shedding off the false, shedding off the fear, and start walking in the truth and freedom to be all of who they were. Because when they start doing that, it gives everyone else permission.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Very beautiful. Once again, I'm talking with Tim Jones, and he is the founder of Longer Tables, and you just had a mile-long table. And I was thinking while you were talking about this mentorship with the leaders, it's kind of like a long table for therapy, really.
We would never call it that.
No, but
there is some therapy.
Yeah, because is it organic therapy maybe? I don't know, but I'm sure people just leave, like you said, feeling connected, feeling heard. And a lot of that people do in therapy sessions,
Yep.
too, that it's just to have somebody to listen to. Another thing I was thinking of, too, is here's an analogy, kind of like the quick fix. Sugar can be a quick fix, but really what you need is a really, great meal.
Yes.
And social media is now our quick fix for the connection,
Yeah.
but we'll never get it. It's always going to be a quick fix, but we
That's
never
right.
really get the real meal that we're craving.
I love those words, that imagery. Yes.
So this is very needed today in this society, to get us off the phones and connecting with people. You're doing a great work. What do you see as you grow? Obviously the leadership and the mile-long table that you just had, but I see that you can, really grow this to other states as well.
Yeah, we're being invited by folks from different cities across the nation, internationally. We got an email from South Africa. I'm like, yes, we will come down and set a table for you. Be on the next flight. It's beautiful, and it resonates. And we're doing nothing new. This is nothing new. People have been setting tables for centuries. Obviously, we talk about Jesus setting tables, and so we're open. And I think the most power that we can have, the most impact that we can have is really in informing leaders and working with leaders, because if we can impact a leader in a company, that leader is going to eventually, and it's going to be slow, like you said, it's slow cooked food.
Right.
Nothing is fast.
Yeah, you put it in the microwave, you lose the nutrients. It's not
for
good.
sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And
anything worthwhile.
That's right. And I often say we have to get over our pragmatism.
Yeah.
Progress moves at the speed of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And progress moves, relationship, trust moves at the speed of slow cooked food.
Right.
That's the only way it works. There is no microwaving. There is no shortcuts to establishing trust in relationship, especially as a leader. It takes time to build relationship and trust. So that is, I think, where we could have the most impact. However, it's just seeds planting. So people often ask, why set a mile-long table? Like, you can't have much connection at a mile-long table. 5,000 people, that's crazy. Well, no, connection does happen because you're sitting across from 3 people, sitting next to a person on each of your left and your right side. So connection does work, but the inspiration and the seeds that are planted is what's beautiful. Quick story, we had about 2 months ago, I get an email from this woman, Darcy. Darcy lives here in Denver, neighborhood South Wash Park. And she said, hey, I went to the 528 table last summer and I ended up realizing my neighbor was there. And we didn't know we were both going to be at this 528 table, which was our big table last year in 2024. And they absolutely loved it. We had 500 people at a table and they said, let's do this in our neighborhood. It took them about 10 months. But they replicated the long table in their neighborhood. They closed down their street.
Yeah.
They invited all of their neighbors, especially the neighbors across the alley even. They got a little band to like play after dinner. They set this long table. Rachel, they had 180 people of their neighbors. Like 98% of the people who live on that block showed up.
Yeah. And just think how you change that neighborhood with that. Now there could be like a great neighborhood watch.
That's right.
Now if someone's sick, someone's,
that's right,
possibly helping out, with food or helping out, and or maybe even people watching kids, watching dogs, the things that used to be common sense, if you will. I feel like I didn't live back then, but back then in the day when communities were more strengthened and they knew their neighbors. It's just something we lost in this modern era, kind of taking it back to the roots of the way communities were in the past. Yeah.
Yeah. Technology. I love learning about this. Just the air conditioner changed our culture because instead of sitting out on the front porch when it's hot, now you're inside.
Wow, so, what an interesting thing that you don't even think about.
And this has been happening. Technology has been affecting our lives. The iPhone, the mobile phone is disastrous. So now it's starting to change chemicals in our brains, especially in youth who are still developing their brains. They're learning, they're forming connection to technology rather than people. And we're losing social emotional skills. So technology isn't bad. But
in balance, but we're not in balance right now.
It's not. And real quick, back to the leadership question, you could be a leader in a company. By the way, everyone's a leader.
Right. Everyone's an influencer. That's what we were just talking before we came on.
That's right.
Yeah.
And here's where this really hits the rubber meets the road. Is that the right saying?
Yeah.
I always get my analogies wrong.
I do too.
Everyone can be a leader in their neighborhood, whether you live in an apartment complex, cul-de-sac, out even rural, actually, everyone can be a leader. And in our experience, I've seen this happen time and time again. It takes, what is quick is just one person to go knock on their neighbor's doors and say, hey, do you guys want to have dinner? Because what happens is everyone is so starved, pun intended, for social connection and to know their neighbors.
Yeah.
Like you got a few of those weirdos on your block. God love them. They may just look out the curtain and, give you a weird look, but we'll keep working on them. But I would say 80 to 90% of people on a block will say yes. Yeah. And they will show up with their grandma's casserole dish and you'll have to kick them out at the end of the night because you got to go to bed. But I'm telling you, we've seen this. People are so starved for this. Anyone can be a leader in their neighborhood and it's scary. It's scary to go knock on doors. It was scary for me. And I'm the guy that leads the nonprofit that does this.
It's helpful? Having a dog. Because I met my neighbors. I know more of my neighbors now since I got my dog.
That's brilliant.
And then I invited 2 ladies that I met while walking my dog to my house.
That's right.
So now I feel more connected in my neighborhood as well. And I feel more safe as well.
Right. Right.
And having people that said, hey, I'll watch your dog, or if there's an emergency, or just helping my neighbor. She's in her 80s, and I'm like, if you need your groceries, help with your groceries.
That's right.
And she asked me to help her hang something up.
Right.
This is really, really important. It seems small, but it's huge. It truly is.
Have you had any conversations with her of storytelling or getting to know her?
As I am getting to know her, hearing about her husband passing and realizing that she's lonely because her husband passed a little over a year ago, and hearing about the house that they had the beauty of the home, and hearing about her hobbies and some of the things that she's made in her place. Yes, it's been beautiful.
I mean, that is, not only does she not feel alone, but the wisdom, the richness. Like, if you develop a relationship with her and you're going through a hard time, to sit on a front porch with her and get perspective, I mean, that is gold.
Right. Yeah. Well, beautiful. Well, we have about 8 more minutes left in show. So someone who's listening right now is like, I love this. First, I want to attend one of these. Second, I love to plan it myself.
Yeah. What should they do?
What should they do? Yeah. Sorry, I left the question hanging.
That's a great question. Look, at setting tables is not difficult. We have a handful of intentionalities, kind of the secret sauce of what we've learned over about 11 years of doing this, of things that are really meaningful. And if you go to longertables.org, longertables.org, you can just fill out a contact form and connect with us. And you can also follow us on Instagram at Set Longer Tables, and just reach out to us and say, hey, I feel led to set a table in my neighborhood or at work. I've got somebody who is going to do it at their CrossFit gym.
Nice.
60 people in a CrossFit gym, which, by the way, our CrossFit is all about community building, workout second,
right? Which
is a beautiful leadership, on behalf of CrossFit. But yeah, just connect with us and say, hey, I want to come to a table. If you live in Kalamazoo, we don't currently have any tables there, but in Denver, we'd love to have you at a table. We will be setting the mile long table every August, end of July, around Colorado's birthday. So next year, on the 150th birthday of Colorado, we'll be setting a mile long table in downtown Denver again. So we'd love to have you. But we have a very simple resource PDF that we're happy to email you and say, hey, if you want to set a table, here's what we recommend. Here's the secret sauce, if you will. Super simple things that are intuitive, easy to do, but that's what we recommend. We also, real quick, have a campaign called Table Together. So that's tabletogether.org. We're launching that in a few weeks, and what that is, we are partnering with National Good Neighbor Day, which Jimmy Carter, by the way, brought into law when he was president. And National Good Neighbor Day with Table Together. The idea there is, you live in a neighborhood, raise your hand, you commit to inviting 4 or 5 neighbors over for dinner. And we have people doing that all across the nation, all on the same night.
Wow.
September 27th.
That's something I can do.
Table Together.
I can do that.
Anyone can do that. We'll ship you a kit in the mail, name tags, conversation questions, coloring sheets for the kids, all the things that you need to set that table.
Anything for the puppies?
Dog treats, maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's we want to make it as easy as possible. And if you don't want to reach out or that's difficult, don't let fear stop you. Just invite people over for dinner. It's that simple. Or invite a coworker to coffee. It can be or a walk. It could be anything. People are starving to be seen, and they're starving to be invited, but it's going to take us to initiate.
Right. And just that ripple effect really does make a huge difference. And once again, we think it's such a thing that's not a big deal, but it truly is a big deal. And just, reminiscing how my little puppy that I got recently has really changed who I know in my neighborhood,
Yeah.
So these little things, they're the things change lives, and the things that on our deathbed, the things that we will cherish is the human connections that we've made. I don't think any of us will think about social media on our deathbed.
No, we're going to think about the people that we shared our lives with, and not just the people in our immediate community or circles, but one of the richest things that I've experienced is connecting with people unlike myself.
Right. Yeah.
Older, younger, different ethnicities. It's absolutely beautiful, and the table can make those connections.
Yeah. One thing, too, I want to pinpoint is I've said this to my friends and family. It seems as if we are unable in this culture to have different perspectives and still like each other. I don't know where that came from, but we can see it in politics.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it being this way, so divisive growing up. And I long for the days, again, where we can in the United States of America, and maybe it's a world thing too, but definitely in the United States, where we can still love and respect somebody who disagrees with us. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing is creating that ripple effect.
Yeah. We are not our opinions. We are human beings. And it's okay to have opinions. It's okay to have perspectives. It's okay to have a political affiliation, but those are tribes, those are camps. That's not who you are.
Right.
And the movement into those is an act of safety because we want to belong. But when that identifies us, it becomes separation. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But when we start as human beings, of just Tim Jones, man, grew up in Lakewood and had fried chicken dinners with my grandma and just want to, drink wine and go on road trips and enjoy movies and tell stories. Like when we connect on that human level, then we realize we are all very similar and we all just want to be loved. So that has to be the connection point.
Well said, Tim. Thank you so much for coming on the Corner Cafe. We're going to have you back, of course.
Thank you, Rachel.
And listeners, definitely check out the website, longertables.org. That's longertables.org. And go out and meet your neighbors and invite people over for dinner.
Tacos will save the world.
Amen.
Or barbecue.
And thank you for tuning in to the Corner Cafe. It's always a joy to have you. You can learn more about the program and go to our website at cornercaferadio.com. That's cornercaferadio.com. And I did put out a course on how to have your own unique radio program. So if you've been envisioning having your own show, I want to tell you that it definitely is possible. If you go to influencerstv.com/radio, that's influencerstv.com, you can learn more about my radio course. And see you next time at the Corner Cafe.